So I wanted to talk about AI. And what I want to do with these videos is to have a discussion to expand the conversation. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of I'm seeing the same things being said. And but you can't look if we look at it through the eyes of mostly what is being offered is about fear. And we need to fear this and we need to fear that. And so I'm going to talk about AI, but I'm going to talk about it from a bit of a different perspective, um, not taking anything away, but expanding the idea of it. And this is not an ended. This is not an ended conversation. This is just the beginning of this conversation. So if you have comments, and if you have questions or whatever else, pose them to me, and you can be part of that conversation. Otherwise, it's going to be in the conversations going. I know I'll be having it in my head because this is going to become one of the realities in our reality is AI, artificial intelligence. So here's a little bit of a different take. First of all, let's look at what is AI. First of all, it is the first big release of AI has been ChatGPT, and that has shown kind of what it is. So basically, you can give it a set of parameters and then have it write something for you. So that seems to be one of the big things in the news is college kids could write a paper. They'll put their information in. They might expand on something else, and then they have ChatGPT write the paper for them. So it's very concerning in the education department, but there's a lot of more concerns that people like. I hear Elon is out there talking. I can't get away from that kind of information, even if I don't go out and seek it. But it's out there, and people are concerned about AI, and it is something that we need to look at because it has the possibility of changing everything, and it's not just Terminator where the machines rise against us. That's a good little fear thing to poke on, and it could, that's one of the possibilities out there. But really, what it is writing papers like school. This can change everything. That kids would get better at using something like ChatGPT than they would at actually going out and researching information. Because really, regardless of what you think of certain professors, or you might have the idea of professors, the whole idea of education and writing papers is to send people out to get information, get it in their head, and then to be able to explore that. And then your paper is your feedback showing sincerely that this is what you've learned. And so with our grading system and our academics now, they can give you a grade for it. Well, that's going to change with this ChatGPT, because people are going to probably very, very soon be able to write these papers, and professors are going to have a very difficult time discerning papers. Well, they keep it the same. So that would be my first spin on this that I don't hear in the conversation, which is this is going to now task and make people teaching look at things from a different perspective. They're going to have to look at things that used to work and they just don't work anymore. And it's kind of, we've had that twist when the internet came around. People go on the internet and get information so much faster. They can even buy papers, those kind of things. And now it's going to put another burden, or you can call it a burden, but I would say it's always good to expand. It's good to see that these professors are going to have to do things and teach in a different way and then measure in a different way. Because, it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to stay up with it. Then it'll just be a battle of professor AI versus student AI. But anyway, so that's the first way to just tweak it a little bit, is that people are going to have to look at that from the professor's point of view, but let's look at it from a student's point of view. And that is that they're going to have to get good at ChatGPT. So in order to write a good paper, you need to have a good starting point. You need to have, the basis of your paper in order to create what you want. So you need to program the artificial intelligence to follow along with your train of thought. So in a way, you're creating this new reality for students. And I was a student that if I had that back then, I would have cheated. I despise those kind of assignments. And, and the thing would have been, though, if I was doing that, I would have got better at ChatGPT or whatever it's going to be in the future. And so there's another way, a spin on how AI. But really the bigger one is the one that really maybe you came to hear about or discuss or consider, is that misinformation, or that's what it's being called now, is just rampant in our world. And we're all talking about it, and everybody thinks that they know what real information is and what aren't, and then some people don't know what the difference is, and they don't know it. Well, with AI, this is what gets really scary, or for these people that are scared. I don't take that position. It's because I see this as an opportunity. Or what the fear is that this AI, you can basically send out this AI to do all of these tasks. So I just saw somebody that, if you don't understand, like somebody that just wrote a very short message to ChatGPT, which was that he wanted to be able to take a camera on his Raspberry Pi and hook it up to his Raspberry Pi and write a piece of code that would allow it to work. Well, he did it once, he put the code in, and it worked. So it's powerful in that way. But the things that we're seeing in our life, like spam, discerning what is real and what isn't real, because ChatGPT now can write context and content better than, or more proficiently and faster in seconds than we can. So we already have these content mills. And this is where that misinformation is happening, is that people just get absolutely focused on these sections of the things that that these echo chambers that people are putting their minds in, and that's all the information they get. And they think, that's how reality works, is if you think that your information is correct, well, then it is correct from your point of view. Whether it is objectively true or not doesn't matter to the individual, because all they care about is figuring out what's real for them and what's true for them. And that's really the big step. So that's the big step in this. We all still have this survival instinct within us. And the thing is that this AI, it can be used to continue to divide in the ways it is, but most likely it's going to, like, people can use this ChatGPT, this artificial intelligence, to send information that provokes people to stay inside of their little echo chambers, to live inside of their little fantasy worlds that don't have anything to do with objective reality. So that is going to surface, that this is actually taking place. Right now, we have people taking sides. We have this tribalism thing happening where it's people against people. Well, all of a sudden, if we have this artificial intelligence and that we understand that this is happening to us, we have to go somewhere else for our information and how we get our information, how we consume our information. And so I see this as, we all have this survival instinct with us. And we think there's a lot of people that will die for their beliefs. That is true. But there's a lot of people that want to live for their beliefs. And if they don't, and if it's against something like AI or something outside of humans, then it gives them reason to look at it in a different way. And a way that we can look at this is that we need to find and be able to discern what information is real and what is not. Well, the first thing you have to understand about reality is If you're not telling the truth, then you don't have a foundation. That yes, people can live an entire life in this reality that we've set up right now without living in objective truth, without really understanding what the hell's going on. They just have a story going on in their head, but they're not living an objective reality. Their foundation is built on abstraction. We live in the subjective reality where wherever it's relative to, there's a subjective point of view coming from that relativity point. And so when we start to realize that this is happening, that information is being like literally sent out to poison us, which is actually kind of happening now with this tribalism and that sort of thing. People are, but oftentimes people don't even realize it. It's their identity. They wrap themselves in this identity and they just pass it around really believing that it's real. And then amongst that will people that know how easily people can be manipulated. But when you realize this, you do something about it. So let's say that we start doing something about it, that this AI starts to say, okay, I need a foundation. Well, the first place you start in reality is telling the truth, but not telling the truth in order to be good. You are telling the truth in order to make the subjective objective, meaning that what you're saying and what you're believing is based on some kind of objective reality of keeping stepping stones within this reality. And those footholds, if we have those footholds, because that's what telling yourself, the first thing you have to do is tell yourself the truth. And that's bigger than just trying to tell the truth to other people. Being honest with yourself is a big task for people, and it's not happening because people are in these echo chambers and they're not telling themselves the truth. If they were telling themselves the truth, they would have foundations that were based upon all the information that's available. That's the interesting thing, is that's what's happening in this divisiveness, is that people are basing their beliefs on what they think is true, and then they have people that just keep regurgitating it and they defend it to their end. But it isn't based with all the information. They haven't taken in every point of view or every relative point of view. They limit their choices. So what actually being honest does is it makes us, or it creates a framework to where we have a foundation based on objective truth. Looking at all the information from a lot of different points of view and being able to hand those points of view and then taking that information and relegating it within your daily life and how you operate. And the way that people are in these echo chambers now is that they don't have those foundations. And we're seeing that these foundations are coming apart, because what happens when people are connected to illusions is that their reaction when their echo chamber or their information that they keep giving goes a different way, their only reaction is to be offended, to react in anger, to find some way to make the other side wrong, instead of just being able to look at all the perspectives and then make a choice, because we all still have to make a choice. But I can't sit down. I'll just give you an example. I can't sit down with, and this is what's frustrating for somebody like me that just constantly wants to expand the conversation, because I understand how reality works, and that works so much better is pushing it forward. But if you sit down, it doesn't matter. Left, right, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. If you sit down with them and you try to have a whole conversation, there's this whole side that they won't even have a conversation about. And they literally can't. That's a thing called cognitive dissonance. Is they've created a belief system that has to make what they've created their reality, it needs to be focused, even if it's an illusion, on what they believe. To them, it's their foundation. And so you can't even have a conversation these days. with people. And there's a lot of people like me that are really frustrated with that, because it's like, we have real problems. Like, there's a lot of things that I don't know that I would say that they're problems. There's things that are going on that we could tweak them or make decisions that would make us, that would expand our consciousness so fastly, and we'd be able to progress forward if we had everything on the table and everybody was doing this other thing, which is paying attention and looking at everything from many different points of view, and then coming from a place of conscience as to what the right decision is and which way that we want this cruise ship to go. If humanity's the cruise ship, we're all trying, like right now, it's just like, if you could imagine, I just all of a sudden have this picture of like both sides of the ship are, one side and the other side, and they're paddling, and everybody's paddling in different directions, and this cruise ship's just hell. It's just not going anywhere. But if we sat down and said, this is real, this is real, this is real, and or this is the information, I want to see what this person's relativity point looks like, the subjective nature of theirs, and then put it all together and then come up with a decision. And so that's the opportunity that I'm seeing with artificial intelligence, is that, first of all, it takes the human against human thing out of it, possibly. These are all just possible ideas. But it puts us now in this space. It's like, if I want survival, I need sanity. I need to actually be grounded. And instead of grounding ourselves within these echo chambers and grounding ourselves in these illusions, which is exactly what cognitive dissonance is. Cognitive dissonance is a psychological term, but it's a musical term. Dissonance. It's out of harmony. And it's out of harmony because you can't see something. It's like missing notes in there that you can't see because you can't see the whole picture. And so what do we want to get into is we want to get into resonance. And the only way that we can get into resonance is by being able to see everything, be able to accept that there are all kinds of musical notes, and to be able to see them all and then make choices. And if we all did this, just imagine what that cruise ship would look like. We'd start to straighten out, and we'd all kind of start going in the same direction. And then just imagine humanity, paddling much more in the same direction. We're getting somewhere. We're getting bigger. Our consciousnesses are growing. We start figuring out this reality together even more. We start having way more fun. We start seeing this reality as a gift of experiencing who we are, not this thing where we go in and we fight for what we believe in and all that bullshit. It's like literally finding all the information that we possibly can, taking the massive amount of subjectivity that lives in this reality, and then starting to find foundations that we all can see are foundations, telling the truth. Because telling the truth doesn't need to be about being right. It can be about a foundation, just a way of moving through. And then these other things, cool things happen about experiencing this reality, is that there's this other little thing that travels behind honesty. You start with honesty, but then you add the heart and you get sincerity. And sincerity, it doesn't have to, you're not sincere because it's the right thing to do. You're sincere because it feels fucking good. Sincerity feels great. In fact, there was a time when I let my own mind get in the way. That there was somebody that heard about something that happened in my life, and it was a customer at a store that I was working on, and they told one of my workmates that they were going to reach out to me because they felt for me. And my first instinct was, I went into my mind and I started thinking about these thoughts about, oh, he didn't have to do that, and I'm not really hurting. And all of a sudden I went, what a stupid point of view. Why am I looking at through that perception? I just had somebody that wanted to meet me with their heart, that they sincerely wanted to make me feel better. And I didn't even need to see the dude again. And I just changed my perception, and I felt and experienced his sincerity, and it just felt good. And I was like, yeah, I prefer sincerity over the mind game. And this is all possible. I'm seeing this as a possibility with this AI thing. And I'll just put a little ending bit on this video, which is with the AI thing, we're calling it AI, and we're worried about it taking over, like becoming self-aware. And the thing is, in order to be self-aware the way that we are, see, the thing is that we don't just operate with our minds. We operate through our feelings. We're sentient beings. We sense things. We feel things. And those feelings change our thoughts. If we feel good, the thoughts that come through are oftentimes good thoughts. When we feel bad, we have bad thoughts, or thoughts that we don't enjoy as much. And so if AI is actually intelligent, it would get in touch with that part and would understand that it's not just a mind game, that it's a feeling game. It's much more of a feeling game than it is a mind game. And if that happens, if it's truly intelligent, it would go for all the best shit. It would seek to find agreement and cooperation, not because it's good, because it feels good. Because it knows that sincerity feels good, not just being honest, telling it like it is, but actually letting those thoughts dribble down and go through the best filter ever, which is the heart. And it would know that, and it would understand what the roles of compassion and empathy and beauty, and that these things are all come from a place of sensations that feel good. And the thing is that we can share it with each other, and something that we're very intelligent would figure this out. Now, I understand that people don't see the world this way, that, you know, if you believe that Satan and evil exist, well, then it exists in your world, in your reality. But there are a lot of us that don't believe that Satan and evil exist, that there is contrast in this world. Yes, there's things that feel harsh, but we look at that feedback as something different, that it's just helping us move through reality. And we've all created it through our beliefs, but we can change those beliefs. And a truly intelligent system would come to that conclusion.